Our goal in life should be to be like Brahman or the cosmic consciousness. We ourselves are a speckle of the Brahman, and we are like the reflection that will be seen in 1,000 different cracked pieces or shards of glasses in a mirror, and each of them will replicate the individual in its entirety. So the Brahman is like that mirror, and no matter how many pieces you break it, each one will replicate the individual in its totality. Just like the number of pots that you have filled with water, each of them will reflect the moonlight in the pot. So that's why every single reflection is same as any other reflection, and that's what is the underlying underpinning of Atman being the same in all of us. We have different minds, we have different intellects, and we have different senses. So those things are in the manifest world. Mind is kind of an amalgam between the unmanifest and manifest world, but for the most part, senses is something in the manifest world, and that's why everybody, depending on their karmas, will experience sensations in a different way. But when I said we have to be like Brahmin, the idea is to become neutral and be in balance and be equipoised, be sthit pragya or stoic, indifferent to pleasure and pain, indifferent towards any desires or expectation of rewards in return. So when you don't have that, you become what Bhagavad Gita describes as yogi, a person who doesn't have desire and a person who doesn't expect any rewards in return. He does something just because it is the right thing to do, or it is the dharma to do. And when he's doing this dharma, he's not expecting anything in return. Because when we say we want anything in return, we are encumbering the universe with creating a manifestation. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that manifestation will bounce back to create a counter manifestation. That's why you don't want to have expectations or desires to begin with, because desire creates the predilection or preference. But Brahman is neutral. Brahman is in balance. Brahman doesn't favor someone or kind of hate someone. So that's why you have to be like Brahman or the cosmic consciousness, which focuses on neutrality, which focuses on balance. And that's why the Satvik gun, the guna of balance is such an important thing to master. Satvik guna means we have become light, and we have become free of any burdens, and we have become free of any expectations. We have done things which are in the right mindset, like anybody would do without having any preferences. So whenever you are doing your job, you have, like as a physician for instance, you have to think what would be the best thing for the patient. When you do your job as a lawyer, you have to see what would be the best for your clientele. So trying to think from someone else's perspective and not from your own body's perspective. And you should always be borne in mind, it has been repeatedly said that in the 4 layers of mental faculties, manas, buddhi, ahankar, chitta, the manas or the thinking mind is what is we have to groom and kind of take control using meditation powers to be seated in the realm of balance and sattva. And chitta is of course the universal consciousness from which the manas will be able to tap in the required data information so that it can apply and understand the universe and experience it in ways beyond which can be described by mere words. So it's very important to kind of to control the senses. So the senses should not control you, you should control the senses. You should be a master of senses, not in a way to suppress them, but to subdue them. You have gained mastery over them. So you decide when you will allow yourself to be indulging in a particular sensual gratification or sensual annihilation when you are thinking of tapas or tapoyagya. austerities. So either ways, you're trying to master and control the way the senses try to run you over, because senses are your foes, no question about that. Mind can be your foe or friend, and buddhi is always your friend, but in times of vinash kale or destruction, the buddhi ceases to be your friend. And atman is you, it is your friend, it is you. So I don't know what you will call a friend. But all others are distinct from you: the manas, the buddhi, and the ahankar or the ego, obviously, and the senses, obviously. All these things are distinct from you, but you have acquired them in this manifest world to be uniting it, or yunja, yoga, with your Atman through the pranavayu to attain a living life or body. So these are components of the manifest world, but the Atman is you. And you have to remember that senses are required for the protection and fortification of the integrity of the physical body. It is also helping with sensual gratification, but that is a temptation or reason to be alive and enjoying ice creams, enjoying romantic relationships, and sex for that matter, or getting into addictions. Those are all an manifestation of the experiences of the senses, to the point where you have overburdened yourself and encumbered yourself with this total preoccupation of enjoying or undertaking a certain activity, and thereby the other senses are being deprived, the mind is being deprived, and you're totally engrossed in certain. So that's why senses are said to be enemies. You have to subdue them and use them in a controlled fashion, in a certain direction, whereby they can be productive in terms of chanting, in terms of God visualization, in terms of doing karma yoga, in that kind of thing of utilization of the karma indriyas and the jnana indriyas, which is basically the senses. Mind, when it is untamed, is your enemy. Mind, when it is tamed, is your friend. Buddhi is your best friend. Buddhi is what creates dharma. Buddhi is what helps you know what is right and wrong and what you should do from a neutral Brahmin Satvik perspective. But unfortunately, Buddhi will be hijacked in times of heightened sensual gratification or rut. That's why the senses, although they're the lower layer, when you totally are preoccupied and thinking about it all the time, they will hijack your mind, followed by the Buddhi. And the Atman can be only a witnesser to all these activities that are going on, like the owner who's sitting in his car, and the chauffeur is the mind, and the senses are the headlights, or the things that are studded on the car, that are signals that are trying to move the car in a certain direction. So that's why it's very important to subdue the senses, control the mind, and establish yourself in vivek and the buddhi to help the atman go to the highest goal, which is attainment of Brahman. And bhakti yoga is a great way to subdue the senses and rechannel them in the right direction of trying to attain the better, higher version of yourself, which can be a deva or the angel or the farishta, or even higher, the supreme personality of Godhead. So in short, my friends, we should be like Brahmin. To be like Brahmin, you have to constantly introspect and contemplate, meditate about who you are and what is the right thing to do in the mode of dharma, and try to inhibit yourself from letting the senses just run awry. Just when you're hungry, grabbing the cookies, just when you have certain yearning, going for the object of sensual gratification, that will weaken you. You have to cause selective deprivation by mind control through the practices of abhyasa and vairagya, which I have talked about earlier, and thereby you are subduing the senses, and that helps you move in the path of dharma, or the right thing to do, utilizing the intellect or the buddhi. And that's how you will move the sa, or the soul, in the path of Brahmin, with which you are in cosmic union through the practice of yoga. Jai Shri Ram.